Today's lesson, we're going to be talking about the place command. We're going to talk about the importance of a place command, what that is, and what are the different steps involved in teaching a place command. In dog training, one of the most important things that we can teach a dog is how to stay. Teaching a dog to stay not only when it feels like staying, but teaching a dog to stay under heavy distractions. There are different kinds of positions that we could have the dog staying in. We could have the dog standing and staying. We could have the dog sitting and staying. We could have the dog laying down and staying in a down command. We also can have the dog staying on a place. A place is an elevated surface. There are different types of place. One of the place cots that I use is this brown elongated cot. You can see that when it's on the ground, it's slightly elevated by about 2 to 3 inches. Also, it's got a mesh material that's breathable. Besides this being comfortable for the dog, one of the important reasons that we use this, the fact that it is up off the ground, there's a certain psychological cliff effect. You'll notice that there's very clear physical boundaries on this place cot. So when a dog is on there, they understand very clearly that there is a physical boundary that is distinguished between being on the cot and being off of the cot. Teaching place is the first step in teaching a very solid stay command in our training program. Once we've been able to teach the dog to stay on place with heavy distractions, the work that we did on the place command easily transfers over to having the dog stay in a down stay, not on the cot, or a sit stay, not on the cot as well. There's a couple steps that are involved when it comes to teaching this place command. One of the first things that we have to do is find out whether or not a dog is comfortable actually getting on the elevated surface. In some cases, we're going to have dogs that are not going to be comfortable. They're not going to want to take that step up. In some cases, the dog may step up onto the place cot, but the fact that it's got a little give in that mesh material, the dog may feel a little bit uncomfortable. Then there are some dogs that will get up there right away. If we're dealing with a dog that's uncomfortable, we don't want to push the dog. We're going to take our time very slowly to encourage the dog up there. We may use food, treats to very gently guide the dog up there. We may reward the dog just for coming close to the cot. Then we may begin to reward the dog for getting one paw on the cot. And we may take further steps as the dog gets more comfortable, getting 2 paws, getting 3 paws, getting up there, each step of the way rewarding the dog. In some cases, dogs that are really struggling, we may actually pick them up. We may gently set them down on the place cot as we're feeding high value food rewards. That's simply something that we do because of time constraints. Obviously, what you want to do when working with your dog is try to train with the least amount of stress possible. Make this as fun as we can for your dog. Now, when we're teaching a brand new command, something that the dog is completely unfamiliar with, it doesn't do us any good to go ahead and issue the command or cue saying the word place. If they've never done the behavior before, that word place, that command or cue, place, has absolutely no meaning to the dog whatsoever. Dogs learn by association. The time that we should begin to introduce the command or introduce the cue, the word place, is when the dog is actually getting on the cot. Until the dog is actually getting on the place cot, there is nothing to associate that behavior with a particular command or cue, the word place. So the first step is beginning to get the dog to get on the cot. We're going to do things to be able to encourage that behavior. We're going to create the behavior of getting the dog to go on the cot. That's the first step in teaching place. The first step is creating the behavior of getting the dog to actually get on that place cot. We want to make that a positive experience for the dog also. So one of the things that we begin to do, the second thing, is we need to mark the behavior of the dog getting on that place cot and rewarding the dog. Create value to the behavior that we're trying to teach. Once the dog understands that that particular behavior gets a reward, that particular behavior has value, they're going to want to increase the likelihood of doing that behavior. They're going to be motivated to want to continue to do that over and over. We begin that process by luring the dog onto the cot with high value food rewards. Most dogs enjoy food. The higher the value of the food reward, the greater the chance they're going to want to follow that food and go ahead and get up onto the cot. Once they get on that place cot, we are going to begin to mark either with a clicker or using the word yes and immediately rewarding the dog for getting on there. We'll get the dog off of the place cot, and we will then again go ahead and repeat that same behavior. What we want to do is create the association that getting on that place cot allows the dog to be able to get a click or the mark yes and a reward, creating value for the dog. Once we've created the association that getting on the cot gets a reward and the dog is doing that without struggle, the next thing we can do is to begin to label that particular behavior with the command, the cue, the word place. At this point, we're still not asking for the behavior. We're not saying place and asking the dog to do it. What we're basically doing is creating the association. When the dog does get up on the place cot, we're labeling that with our command, with our cue, with our word place. Again, repetitively creating that association so the dog begins to now understand that getting on the cot and place are paired together. Getting on the cot, the word command or cue place also get a mark and reward, whether that mark is a click or whether that mark is yes. If you're on this particular lesson and you don't know what a marker training system is, if you don't know what click treat, yes treat means, please go back, check out our lesson, check out our video on the beginning steps of marker training, why it's important to use markers in training. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and show you and demonstrate to you exactly what those steps are when it comes to training and teaching the place command. Let's begin. The first step is going to be to get your high value food item. Make sure that your dog knows that you have food. Make sure that the dog is interested in the food. If not, we're going to get something the dog's definitely interested in. When we lure the dog, we're going to come down to the dog's nose and mouth, slowly go ahead and guide the dog up onto the cot and then give the dog the food. We're going to lure the dog back off of the cot, give the dog food again. Notice when I'm using a lure, I'm keeping the food, keeping my hand close to the dog's mouth and nose. I'm also using straight lines going to the cot. I'm not all over the place with my hand, going up, going down, but doing straight lines back, straight lines this way, straight lines parallel to the ground. That's important. If you don't know how to do that, practice that before you even begin this exercise. Hey, boo. So here we go again. I'm going to go ahead and lure the dog up there, reward the dog. And then lure the dog off of there, reward the dog. So the first step is making sure that we can create the behavior. Using that lure, creating the behavior. Once we have that, now we're going to go ahead and begin to mark that particular behavior. Again, we use a marker training system. We're going to click and reward, or we're going to use the word yes and reward. So, second step, take your food lure, go ahead and lure the dog up there. Yes, and reward. Now, I'm also going to teach the dog a release command to come off of place. In this case, that's going to be break. So eventually, I'm going to be labeling the place behavior, place, coming off of their break. But right now, I'm just going to be luring, marking, and rewarding. Yes. Get another food lure. Lure the dog up there. Yes. Oh, he fell off there. Lure the dog off. Yes. Lure the dog back up there. Yes. Lure off. Yes. Lure back on. Yes. Once we've done that successfully, once the dog is going on there and coming off without hesitation, and we've got that behavior created with the dog, the next thing we want to do is to begin to make the association with the command, with the cue, the word place. Prior to that, we've been creating an association of getting on that particular place cot has value. You're going to get a reward. We've created the behavior, we've begun our marking and rewarding. Now we're going to go to the next step, and that is to be able to actually label that behavior. Little boo, hey baby, good girl. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and get the dog up there. Place, yes. Notice I'm not asking for it. I'm creating the behavior as the dog gives the behavior. I'm going to go ahead and label that behavior, mark and reward. Same thing on the release command. I'm going to release the dog, and when I do get the behavior of the dog coming off, I'm going to label that break. Break, yes. So again, we're going to go ahead and lure up, label the behavior, place, yes, and we mark it with yes. Create the behavior of coming off with the lure, break, yes. Label it with break, mark with yes and reward. Here we go, we're going to do it again. Place, yes. Break, yes. Place, yes. Break, yes. Place, yes. You're going to want to practice this about 30 repetitions. You should be able to get most dogs interested in doing this 30 times if you're using high value food rewards. Make sure that your dog is hungry. Don't try to do this exercise after you've fed your dog. You're going to want to practice this for several days. Again, we're creating an association between moving towards this cot, getting on the cot, labeling that place, marking with yes, rewarding that behavior. We're also creating the association of getting the dog off of the cot, labeling that behavior break, marking with yes, rewarding that. We're still not asking for the behavior.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you have a problem with your dog's behavior and training, contact Phoenix Dog Training at 602-769-1411 or visit us on the web at phoenixdogtraining.com. Those outside of Arizona, be sure to check out our online training options.